Welcome everyone to the session. My name is Sandile Chabalala, and I'm the host for the session today on funding mental health problems. I mean, challenges or problems or programs as well. Because as we know, a lot of the mental health ecosystem it's only recently gaining momentum. And therefore, many people don't understand that actually there are programs designed to support the mental health ecosystem, either be community activations, either be corporate interventions, or be really working with the healthcare ecosystem to better service people that have mental health challenges. So I think that really still remains an area that doesn't have as much priority as you would imagine, especially for young people and for children who are also dealing with severe mental health challenges. There's not enough programs that are designed to support them, and there isn't enough funding that's going in that direction of really elevating the experience of mental health, even removing the stigma, as well as bringing forth the reality that mental health is actually a crisis. It's a global crisis that we have in the world. So I think today we have our very own mental health advocate, Kwezi Mabunda, who will really take us through her recent thinking. And maybe she's also going to speak a bit more about the work that she's doing in her own foundation, and maybe even why she started the foundation. We'll get to know more about that. And then, of course, she will go and speak about the need to really allocate funding for mental health. And I think the reason we're doing this is because we're not saying that Kwezi is a funder, or we're not saying that Kwezi has all the money, but we're rather trying to understand the case for investment in mental health challenges and programs. So over to you, Kwezi. I don't want to do an introduction. You can actually introduce yourself, because there's more dignity in introducing yourself, because you can say what needs to be said, and you can remove what doesn't have to be said by yourself. So I'm going to hand over to you, and yeah, for the rest of the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandile. Good morning, everyone. Morning, morning, morning. Let's take a moment and pray for technology so it doesn't ditch me. But I hope you are all well. While I just find my slide that I'm going to share, I'm also going to introduce myself very briefly, and then I'll get into the reason why we're here today. I am Kwezi, like Sandile has already said. I'm a very passionate mental health advocate, and maybe briefly also the reason why I started the work that I'm doing now is really because of my own personal experience that I had. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people actually start NGOs, because they have a personal story. So I, during COVID, experienced a panic attack, and I had no idea what that was during that time. And because of that experience, I really wanted to educate myself, because I Googled what it was. And then as soon as I read about it, I was like, if I don't know what this is, then how many other people have no idea? And through that, then I then started hosting support groups with young people, where we really shared experiences and knowledge as we all started learning together. And then it was through that work that I then realized, maybe a few years later, after I worked on a mental health company, that this was really work that I wanted to do more of, because like Sandile said, I don't think there'll ever be enough people that are doing this work. So just to get into also more of the work that I'm doing, can you just maybe quickly confirm if you can see my slides?
Yes,
You
I
can.
can, but maybe just
Great.
remove that. Continue to share. Yeah, there we go. That's perfect.
Oh, is it gone? Because it's not moving on my side.
Maybe say continue
Or
to
do I need
share.
to come?
Maybe do the slideshow, the
Okay,
bigger
yes, I'm
slideshow.
going. Where do I do that? Here. No.
If you
I
click
might
continue
just
to share,
leave it here. It's
okay.
not clicking. Oh, maybe let me
Oh,
stop and let's try again one more time. But as I continue, So the work that we do at Sisonke is really about advocating and educating young people, parents, teachers, and learners about mental health. And the reason why we focus on not only learners is because we realized that we wanted to create an ecosystem of people who also would be able to support the young people. So educating young people was not enough. We also wanted to educate and empower their parents. So when a child comes back home from school, their parent is able to support them when they're having a panic attack, for example. So we also wanted to empower and educate teachers because that's where our children spend the most time. And sometimes we also know when we speak to young people that some of the issues that they say they're experiencing may sometimes come from either a teacher or a parent or a loved one, because sometimes they may not be aware of the impact of how their treatments can have on these young people. This thing is really not cooperating. Can I not share? Is that fine? I hope you guys don't mind.
Maybe try one more time.
Now my screen is frozen.
Otherwise, you can just
Okay.
email it to me, then I can share it on my side for you.
Amazing. Let's do that. Sorry about that, guys. Clearly, I didn't pray long email it to you quickly and then I'll just continue. So I started Sisonke in 20. So I started being a mental health advocate in 2021 after COVID, like I said. But I only registered the NGO in 2024. And that's when I left my full-time job after, like I said, I worked for a mental health company, but it felt like we were not practicing what we were preaching. And I really wanted to do work that I felt like I was aligned to, but I also felt like I was equipped to really start this work. And I had no idea what I was doing. I think even 2 years later, there's still things that I'm learning. And also in spaces like this, I also realized that there is a lot for us that we need to learn. And as I started the NGO, I assumed, like I think a lot of people do, that when you start an NGO, people are just going to start throwing money at you. You know, the money is just going to come and people are going to believe in the work that you do. Because I mean, especially now, we all are in a better place when it comes to awareness and education, when it comes to mental health. So the assumption would be because people can see the issues that are out there, people would just hand out money. And I remember when I first started, I would just do videos asking people to send donations, and I don't think I got even one. And I think that's why it's important to also have platforms like this where we really look at different ways of looking at generating an income and not just focusing on us getting grants and funds. Sandile, did you get the email?
No, I haven't got it yet, but maybe try again one more time and put it on your side. I haven't received the email.
Okay, weird. One moment. Okay, sharing. Please let me know as soon as you can see it. Current slide.
Yeah, it's
I
perfect now.
think it
Go
should.
for it. Yeah, it's perfect. Go for it. You can go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, what I think I have given you a brief background on what Sisonke does, but also just to mention that the core focuses of what we do is we raise awareness, we educate, like I've said, who our target audience is. What's important for us is really creating safe spaces for young people and their communities to have conversations. Because we've seen that there is power in having conversation and then also creating resources and spaces for support. And then the reason why we started doing the work that we are doing is because we saw a few gaps, like people having limited understanding of mental health. Till today, people don't really understand what mental health is, and you would think that it's obvious, but it's not. So really just going back to basics and teaching people from scratch what mental health is, what mental health issues are. There's also a lack of accessible support services, whether it is because of the high cost of therapy or professional care, or perhaps because of the long queues that public health services have, and people not being able to get support as soon as they need to. And then also the issue of stigma that people are facing, where you may know that you there might be something wrong, but you are afraid of what people are going to think or what people are going to say. So then you resort to just not doing anything about it, which can obviously cause more harm. And then also what the reality is that the people who do need the support the most, the people who we serve, which are underprivileged communities, are the ones who have the least access. And that's why we want to go into those communities to really just offer support and safe spaces. And then how we do this is by hosting outreaches, whether online or in person, whether it is workshops, educational sessions, or live sessions, just having conversations, and also bringing mental health professionals into the conversation, because sometimes just bringing a mental health conversation and a mental health professional into the conversation and humanizing them also makes people feel like, okay, maybe therapy might not be that bad because this person understands me. So then they do then start feeling comfortable with reaching out. And then we also facilitate conversations. Like I said, we are also very passionate about training individuals around being able to offer this support in their communities as well. So we offer psychology students a space for them to get their hours, and then we also train mental health champions so they can continue the advocacy in their communities. And then the last one is that we use our digital platforms, which is our social media and our online website, for us to just also do some psychoeducation as well. Then just briefly highlighting some of the real life challenges that people are navigating that can cause mental health issues or mental health challenges. These are also issues that can affect us in this room as well. Financial pressures or unemployment, academic or workplace stress, family and relationship dynamics where there's just homes that are not as happy as they can be, or relationships where you have certain issues that can really affect your mental health, social pressures that come from us comparing ourselves to the things that we see on social media or other people in our lives. I mean, we just saw on the internet that there were other people were comparing themselves to, and now they're realizing that their lives are not what they thought they were. And that's a huge issue that affects not only young people, but it affects people in different age groups. And then there's also trauma, grief, exposure to violence, and also something that we may really not realize is a huge issue is people having a lack of safe and supportive environment. So really having a space or people to speak to can really cause mental health issues. And this is why we think that it's important to have mental health initiatives. And the reason why I don't think we'll have enough of organizations like Sisonke and other mental health organizations, because there's so much happening. Every time we go out into an outreach, or whenever we go into a school and we come back, I come back feeling like, oh my word, there's so much work that needs to be done. And I don't think all four of us who went to the school are enough. I actually wish we could times ourselves by 1,000 and go into more communities, because also an hour or 2 hours or half a day is not enough, to address some of the challenges that we face. So really looking at mental health initiatives, just like how we look at any other healthcare initiatives, and realizing that it's not an option, it's not a luxury, it's actually something that is urgent, because it's also an issue that is so deep and so vast. It does affect how people think, it affects how people feel, it affects how people work, it affects how people relate to others, which means that it's affecting our day-to-day life, it's affecting how people are showing up at work, it's affecting productivity. And then it just becomes a cycle that goes on and on and on, looking at the challenges that I spoke about previously, where I said workplace stress is an issue and relational stress is an issue, and not having support. Meaning, if you had a terrible day at work and you come home and you don't have a support system, that's going to affect you. If you don't have money in your account and you have financial pressure, these things keep affecting each other. So the demand for the work that we are doing and just us working together keeps increasing across all communities. And it's not just underprivileged communities, but of course, when you do this work, you have to choose a community that you're focusing on. But it's not an issue that only affects Africans or different races, but it affects all of us. But it does affect our young people and our underserved communities the most, because that's where they have the least education. That's where they have the least tools to cope. Because sometimes you don't need to speak to a therapist. Sometimes you just need to know that when you're feeling like this, when you have this panic attack that's affecting you, just take a few deep breaths, and that might actually make you think better, or take a walk instead of getting into an argument. So, because these tools and these resources are not that available for young people in underserved communities, it means that it may take them longer, and it may actually make the problem even worse. And so, because these mental health challenges are constantly evolving, that means that every community does need access to safe spaces, to education and awareness, to early intervention and support, and also to continuous care systems. Then, looking at why we are here today, which is the reality of funding for mental health work, and not only mental health work, but in the nonprofit space. Like I said, when I started, I assumed that it would be easy, to just get the money coming in. I mean, I thought I've left my job and I can do all this, because also people will see the passion that I have and they'll believe in the work that I want to do because it's really urgent. But it is a misconception that, or getting people to support the work that you do is easy, but also that funding is easily accessible. And it is important for organizations to understand that also, when you apply for funding, when you now get an opportunity to submit a proposal, it's not as simple as just completing an application form and sending it, but you do need to have certain structures in place. The funder is looking to see if you have a clear program design that has a measurable impact. They want to see if you have strong governance and leadership structures. I know I did have a mentorship. I think 2 years ago, I was part of an NGO mentorship program for NGO leaders who just started. And the first thing our mentor said was, when you have a governance team, you can't really have all your family members there, because then it might start looking dodgy when a funder looks at that registration document and all they see is Mabundas. It might just start looking like this family just is gonna waste our money. We need people who look serious. So just considering the type of people that you have in your governance team and the people that you lead with, because it also means that you have different voices and people who are actually skilled in this work. I think we actually underestimate NGO work because we're assuming that you're just going to do work from the goodness of your heart, and we don't realize that there's actually real work that goes in when we are submitting these proposals, like writing an actual proposal that makes sense, coming up with how this program is going to run, and all these things that you might not be able to do with volunteers unless you are able to get a team that is going to be skilled. And then also they look at the financial management systems and how you've been able to manage your finances before. I had the shock of my life when I saw this, because I was like, how do you expect me to have managed money before when I'm trying to get them? It's like, I think it's like how people, when they apply for a job and they say, and a company needs you to have experience before they can hire you. So that's another lesson that learned, which was really having financial management systems in place and also having the operational capacity to deliver on the work that is proposed. That's also something that we take for granted, and also making sure that the program or the project that you are applying funding for has long-term sustainability, because the funder needs to know that they're not throwing away money, but it is money that is going to be utilized accordingly, and that there is a return on investment. I think something that I needed to change in my mindset is not looking at our organization as a business. I had to change and look at it as that, to be able to start running it like that. So we had to start building processes. We had to build like a solid strategy for the organization that is not just the vision and a mission and goals and objectives, but a vision and a mission, goals and objectives, the beneficiaries, a SWOT analysis, who is our competition, who's doing what and how are they doing, because also we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just look at how other organizations are doing it, and we can do it in our spaces. And so, one key lesson that I learned was really that passion helps to start the work, but it doesn't sustain the work. And I don't know how many times we had to stop in the process of filling in an application form, and we realized that our structures in play are not we're not ready actually to get the type of funding that we're applying for, because one, the application form is so long, we actually have no idea how to fill it in. But also looking at the amount of things that are required, it's important for us to be honest enough with ourselves and use the application form to build the structures and the systems in place, so that when we find something else, we are ready. And something that we've been spending a lot of time on, which is not really something we focused on in the beginning, is monitoring and evaluation. And just building that, because I've seen that there's a lot of power in us monitoring and evaluating the work that we do. But also, when we get funding, we would need to be able to show the work that we've done, not just by pictures and social media and the things that the fun stuff, but really being able to quantify the work that we said we were going to do. And like I said, funding is not awarded based on passion alone, but it's based on being prepared, having experience, and also very important, having a measurable impact. Then something that I think a lot of us as NGO leaders need to start looking at is rethinking funding outside of just focusing on grants and donations, and looking for an international organization to come and give us euros or pounds, but looking at where we are now and thinking of creative ways and innovative ways of how we can generate income. Things like partnering with corporate organizations. I mean, we haven't been able to be successful in applying and receiving funding, but one thing that has been working for us is our CSI initiatives and our partnerships with corporates, where we offer our services and then we get paid. We get paid for workshops, we get paid for offering certain trainings. Things that other people can do is hosting events and getting tickets, selling tickets or experiences, or selling merchandise, or funding or running community-driven fundraising initiatives, or sometimes looking outside of money, and saying, how can we partner strategically with other organizations to share the resources and the opportunities that we have. Sometimes it doesn't have to be about money. You could be partnering with an organization that perhaps may have the funds, or maybe has the capacity, or maybe has the skills that you need to run certain initiatives. And looking at it like that can help us to really be productive, because you're not just sitting and waiting and feeling demotivated, because it can get very demotivating when you keep applying. It's just like I said, it's like applying for a job and you just keep getting those rejection emails. I think with funding, you don't even get a rejection email. You just wait and you hope that someone is going to respond. So finding different ways, alternative creative ways of how to keep the organization running in the meantime while you wait is really good, because it also helps you to build a bank of, how can I put this? It helps you build a bank of like your CV of work that you've done before. So by the time, hopefully, the opportunity comes and this funder comes, you've built the processes, you've built the structures, but also you weren't sitting and waiting for someone to give you money so you can do the work, but you have been doing things and you do have a portfolio of evidence of work that you've done before. I think also what's important to know is that there's a lot of trial and error. I don't know how many times I've stopped, started, redone certain things, rethink the way we've been doing certain things as well, re-strategized. So the more you do these things and maybe not even do them for masses, maybe doing them for smaller groups does also help. As they say, practice makes perfect. I think that's what the saying says. I think this is my third last slide. I think we should be good for time. So what is also important for us as leaders and change makers, which yeah, man, I think when you're running an NGO, you don't think of like a business, like I said. So you just want to do things as and when you do them, but it is important to start taking yourself seriously, start seeing your organization as a business. Even though you're not really making a profit, you can generate an income. Like I said, you can get money that is going to assist you to do the things that you do. It is important for you to not wait for a Kwezi to hold a webinar, know where to go to get funding opportunities, but it's important to do research. It's important to follow the right people on social media, especially on LinkedIn. There's so much information on LinkedIn. There's so many ebooks that people are creating. There are so many webinars that are being hosted like this one today. It's important to learn about where the funding opportunities are. It's also important to learn how to interpret and to respond to funding criteria and not give up when you get it and you let it go, then you wait for the next one. But using those applications as a way to reach out to people who have done it before, set up a meeting and say, please show us how you've done this and this and this, because I think we all want to see each other win. So it is possible for us to share information that we have. It's important to build capacity before applying, especially when you're applying for large numbers or large amounts of money. If you're applying for 1 million rand, you can't be a one-man team. You have to have a solid team that's going to help you to implement the work, because you will have to be accountable for every cent or rand or euro or dollar that you get. It's important to strengthen your internal systems and processes as you build your capacity. It is also important to think long term and not just think of the immediate needs. How can you also expand the work that you are doing over 3 years instead of over a year? Progress comes through you being consistent and not urgency. You have time, and some things may need more urgency than others, but I think it's important to focus on building a solid foundation and then staying informed through reading and research, like I've said, and then building networks and collaborations as well. Then my second last slide before we close is we value collaboration a lot because we are still learning, we are still young. So I've realized that through partnerships and through collaboration, it helps us to build a capacity that I've spoken about. It also helps us to learn some lessons, but with having having backup, it's not just us who are doing this work. We have backup. We work with people who have done this before. Different ways of working with us is we can run programs together. We can run workshops for you, or you can invite us to host a mental health workshop or a talk for you. We can provide in-kind support based on the skills that we have. For example, I love designing. So whenever I see posters, I'm like, this one should have just asked me to help them with this, and we would have done it so quickly. So it's things like that, looking at how you can partner and share skills. Someone else might be good at finance. And really for us, the goal is not mainly just funding, but it's really building a community that actively makes an impact in the lives of young people, because I've always said that I want to make a difference and I want to change the world. And someone once told me that I can't. So I really have to prove them wrong. So these partnerships are going to help me to prove this person wrong when they said I couldn't change the world. And lastly, in closing, mental health work is not easy. NGO work is not easy at all. Sometimes it feels like you're just pouring into a broken bucket. But getting funding is even harder than that. You know, building an organization requires more than passion. Like I said, it requires continuous learning. It requires rejection, it requires falling and sometimes crying and feeling like you maybe made a mistake, but also coming back and saying, I had this calling for a reason, and this is more than just about me, but it's about the lives that depend on this work that we are doing to change them. So despite the challenges that we face, the work continues because the need continues and it continues to increase. And that's what makes the work that we are doing worth pursuing. So thank you very much for all your patience, and thank you so much for joining me and attending this webinar. I will hand back to Sandile because I know we did lose some time due to technical issues, but thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate such a really well presented presentation and really sharing about your journey and sharing about where Sisonke is headed towards. I think just quickly, there's a question from Ms. Kukutaba about which communities you work with currently. And then I know Zihle from African Venture Philanthropy Alliance has also put her details for you to reach out to. I know this is not the end of our conversation. I think we'll have you again pretty soon because mental health remains a very critical part of enabling philanthropy to be quite responsive, especially at the local level, to support organizations such as yours and to strengthen the work that you do through obviously partnerships and collaboration. And I think already, because certain people that I've attended have already signaled that they want to keep in touch and are asking practical questions around community, means that there's possibilities to work together and to achieve collective impact. So yeah, thank you so much once again. I don't know if anyone has any particular question. I think we've got about 2-3 minutes left. We could use it. If anyone wants to share any thoughts, suggestions, reflections, you're more than welcome to step in.
Okay. Can I respond to Mam Kuku's questions?
Yes, please.
Sorry, Quincy.
The communities
Can
that
you
we
please
work
also share
with
your
are
details? Oh, sorry. Please share your details because
okay.
I'm not sure if I have them.
No
Thank you.
problem. Okay. I'm putting my email address on here on the comments. I almost said comment section. YouTube, on the chat. And the communities that we serve are mainly around Joburg. So we've worked with Soweto, we've worked with Alex. However, through the corporate partnerships that we've worked with last year, we've been to the Free States, we've been to KZN, we've been to Katlehong. So we're not really limited, but we are based in Joburg. So Soweto, Alex, Katlehong, Thokoza, the communities in and around are really our main rather communities. So I'm also twofold because I run the NGO through Sisonke, but I also do the work in my personal capacity through the work I do with teens. I wrote a teen book on emotional intelligence. So sometimes I bring in the work that I do with the NGO and the work that I do in the personal capacity. So that's also not limited to one community. I am hoping that I do the work internationally very soon. Let's not limit ourselves to Joburg. But yeah, thank you so much. I've shared my email address in the chat. Maybe I need to share my Instagram handle as well. It's at Kwezi Mabunda on Instagram, and on LinkedIn, it's Nomakhwezi Mabunda. And thank you so much for the contact details. I will reach out to Zinhle as well from AVPA.
Great. Thank you so much, Kwezi. Anyone else that would like to add anything?
Except to say thank you. Thank you so much, Sandile and everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And so I think next week again, same time, we have the same session. And next week we're having, let me just quickly tell you. Oh my God, let me just quickly tell you here who we have next week. we have, is it next week? 6th of May, yes, we have mental health challenges for entrepreneurs. So we'll be talking about mental health, but only in concentration for entrepreneurs. And we'll be speaking to Umpo, who wrote a report for Old Mutual on I suppose the situation of mental health for entrepreneurs. So that'll be quite interesting. It's a very well written report. It's published by Old Mutual, and I think it's their own contribution to understanding the difference between health and financial services. So that'll be it's quite interesting follow up from here. So thank you so much, everyone, and see you soon. And thanks for keeping up on joining us. We see familiar faces and we really appreciate it. I hope this is useful for all of you. Thank you. Have a lovely week. Namaste.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.